Okay.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Oh, Ken? Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Aaron. My name is my full name is Aaron Muslim. I'm from the web front-end team from Shopee. This is my first arcade talk. So today what I'm gonna share about is about how to code your HTML email. So first of all, HTML email, what is it? What is HTML email? So as the name suggests, it's just an email, your usual email, but formatted with HTML. So what's the difference with plain text email then? So HTML email, meaning the email will have design, will have layout. Of course, it will be more engaging for the users, and it will look more professional and in line with your whole company branding. So imagine Shopee sending you an email with just plain text versus Shopee sending you an email with our iconic orange colors and our iconic logos. Which will you believe more? Of course, you will see that you might think that the plain text might be a spam. Yeah, so that's why we want to use a HTML email to send out company emails nowadays. And yeah, actually a lot of companies do that now. So what is the HTML email used for? So far as I know, there are 3 use cases for HTML email. The first one is a marketing email. The second one is the transactional email. And the third one is a lifecycle email. I'll go through them one by one. So the first one is marketing email. As the name suggests, it's an email sent by companies to market their products or to market their subscription plans. So for this type of email, definitely you want it to be eye-catchy and designed as good as possible, since you want the users to take some actions with it, either to subscribe to your product or subscribe to your service or buy your product. And this is the type of email that I'll be demoing for today. So I'll show you later. Then next we have a transactional email. This type of email is an email triggered by the user action. So let's say a user buy something from your e-commerce website. Then you will send out an order list email to your user. Definitely you want your order list email to be designed and to be styled according to your brand. And another thing is transactional email can also be a sign-in email. So let's say the user register with your account, then you will send them email to activate their account. That's also considered a transactional email. Then the last email is the lifecycle email. This is usually sent out when you want to make sure that the user is still using your service. If I don't remember wrongly, Dropbox will send out an email like every 1 month if you did not log in and ask you whether you still want to keep your account or not. And this is lifecycle email. So HTML emails are used for these 3 types of emails. Now, I'll be talking about the scope of my sharing today. So my sharing today won't be about how you can adhere to the CAN-SPAM or GDPR rules so that your email is not marked as spam. It's also not about content writing, how to write good content, or how to design your email, like put a button in the middle or something like that. And it's also not about tracking. But my sharing today is more about the code and the CSS and how you can make sure that your HTML email will show as properly as possible in as many email clients as possible. So I will first share on the problem that we may face when we code a HTML email. So as some of you might have guessed, yes, the problem is the same as what we usually encounter in our daily work. So as with browsers, there are also a lot of email clients. Well, as you know, we now have Android Mail, we have Apple Mail, we have Gmail and Outlook. And this leads to different rendering engines. So different email client will use different rendering engines. And as you can see on the slides there, so as Apple iOS Mail is using Safari WebKit, Gmail app, I'm not sure what's the name of their rendering engine, but I'm pretty sure they're using a custom one. And an interesting bunch over here is the Outlook. As you can see, Outlook 2002, 2003 is using Trident, meaning it's using the same rendering engine as IE6. Then another interesting one is Outlook 2007. It's using MS Word. Yes, MS Word. You did not see that wrongly. So it's Outlook 2007 is using MS Word as their rendering engine. Only after 2015, Outlook 2015 is using WebKit finally. And another thing is, maybe you are already doing this, but if you open Gmail on your browser, then the Gmail will use the browser's engine. Yes. So before I go on again, here is the current market share. I get it from emailclientmarketshare.com as of 28 March 2020. As you can see, the top 3 email client right now is the Apple iPhone Mail, then your Gmail, then Apple Mail. And at number 4, you will see someone familiar there, which is Outlook. Before I start the demo, I want to say that the top 3 email client actually has pretty good rendering engine, and they support like pretty much a lot of stuff already, like responsiveness, positioning, layouting, and stuff like that. But the thing is, you still want to support Outlook, and it still compromises almost 10% of the whole market. So if you are sending out a HTML email, you still want to make sure that in Outlook, even older version of Outlook, it still looks good. So without further ado, I will just go on to my demo. So for this demo, I'll be using Node.js as my server to send my email. I'll zoom in a bit. Oops. Okay. So I'll be using NodeMailer to send out my email, and I'll be using, and I won't be building my own SMTP server for this. I'll be using Google SMTP to show the demo. So I'll go through the code for a bit first. So basically, this code will receive 3 arguments. One is the folder name, in which I'll find the index.html file to be sent to the email. Then the second argument will be the recipient. Then the last one is the subject. Okay. So first of all, I will check whether the second argument exists or not. And if it does exist, I will check whether the file exists or not over here. If it does not exist, then I'll just break. Then after that, I will create some tokens over here to be used to connect to my account to send out the email. Now, how do you get the tokens over here? So to get the tokens, first what you need to do is you need to go to the Google Developers Console. There you can click create a project. For this one, I have created a private project, which is this RK HTML email. Then after that, you can create a OAuth2 client ID. Then after that, you will be able to get your client ID, and then you will be able to get your client secret. I won't be showing it over here since I've already generated my token. Then after you have gotten your token, how you can get the refresh and access token is you go to this OAuth playground in the Google developer site. Then you can do a OAuth configuration over here. Click on use your own OAuth credentials, then key in your client ID and client secret, which you have gotten before from here. Okay, so after you have filled in this here, then you need to input the scope over here, which is the mail.google.com. Then you just click on Authorize API. Then it will ask you to log into your Gmail account. Then after that, your token will pop up over here. Okay. Then you can just copy this token and put it in your code over here. Okay. That's basically it. That's basically how to get your access token. So after you get your token, you will need to create a transporter with all the tokens and all the settings over here. Oh, and before that, there's if you are too lazy to create tokens, you can always just do it this way, which is using your password. But since this is a live streaming, I won't be showing my password, of course. Okay. Next, you'll need to set up some mail options. It's pretty simple. It's just from, to, subject, text, and HTML. So I'll just be sending from my account, my private account, to also my private account if I don't put the argument, and just some demo HTML email as my subject. And this part of the code will just send the email, and that's all. Okay, that's the server part. Then I will show what is the email that I'm gonna send. So what I'm gonna send is this email. Okay.
Hello, Aaron.
Yes.
So when you present code, please enlarge your font a little bit. We're seeing.
Oh, it's too small.
Cannot see the code. Yes.
Oh, okay. Can. Let me zoom in.
Yes, please.
Is it okay? Is this okay?
Let's see. I'm not full screen. Maybe slightly.
One two size bigger.
Yeah.
1 2 size bigger.
Yeah.
Like this.
Oh, this one looks good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Sure. Maybe then I'll just show the code a bit one more time. Then this is so I'll just go on the code quickly, very quickly for one more time. So this part will just get the check whether the user provide the second argument, which is the folder. Then this part will check whether the index.html file exists or not. Then I'll just get some tokens from what I have shown previously. Then create a transporter using NodeMailer with these settings. Then I'll set up some mail options, just your usual from, to, subject, and the HTML file I want to send. Then just send it using the transporter. Yeah, and that's it. And so this is the email that I'm going to try to send out. It's basically just a very simple marketing email that want to sell a product. So it looks very simple. And the code for this is over here. Yep. So basically, it's just your usual HTML code, nothing fancy over here. So yes, and the styling is over here. Yep, nothing fancy. And one more thing to note is that I do have a very simple responsiveness over here. So if for this email, if you show it on a smaller screen, it should look something like this. Okay. So I'll try to send out this email. But first thing before sending out the email is that, as you can see, this file is actually using a external CSS file. So while sending your HTML email, you want to avoid embedding external CSS sheets. So what you want to do is first, you move all the style over here inside your HTML file. And I have done just that, which is this code over here. Okay, this is the exact same code. but with the CSS inside the HTML file. Okay, then I'll just send that file, which is demo2. Oops. Okay, the response looks good. Looks like send. Then I'll check it in my email. Oh, before that, I'll try to send to my another account, which is a Yahoo account as well. Okay, while waiting for that, it looks fine. Okay, so let's see the result in the first client. So the Gmail client, this one is I'm opening it from the browser, so it will be the same engine as my browser, which is Chrome, and it looks something like this. Okay, looks pretty cool. Nothing wrong over here, and it looks very simple. Nothing much I've done to the code, just move the CSS inside to the HTML file, and it looks good. Another place I want to check is my Gmail app. Let's see. Let's see how it looks over in my phone over here. Oh, as you can see, the responsiveness is working, and all looks good as well. Then another one that I want to try is the Mail app, the iPhone Apple Mail. And yes, as expected, it also looks quite good. Okay, so that should be the end of the demo, right? But no, since we only check on some of the modern clients, we need to check in another client as well, which is the Outlook. So on Outlook, it will look something like this. Oh no, as you can see, there are several problems over here. First is the images are actually not loaded. And then all my styling is like almost gone. My centralization, my column, my sizing, all is like very off. And if your user receive an email like this, definitely they'll feel that your company is not professional enough to send out this kind of email. Okay, so what can we do then? So anybody have a guess? So if you have been trying to make HTML code and styling work for IE, it's actually the same idea. So what you need to do is, oops, sorry, spoiler, yeah. So what you need to do is you need to change all your divs into tables. So basically, this is the same code, the same styling as the previous one. I'll show you over here, which is demo3. Okay. So as you can see, it's the same styling. The difference is that instead of this, now I've changed all the divs to tables. Yes. I'll scroll for a bit so that you can see the code. It's mostly the same, just without divs. Okay, and when changing divs to tables, what you need to make sure you set is this several properties over here. So you need to make sure that the border is 0, cell padding is 0, cell spacing is 0, and width is 100%. So if you don't set cell padding and cell spacing 0, you will notice that in between your elements, there'll be a little bit of spacing because of the padding and spacing of the cells. And so you don't want that. So you need to set the cell padding and cell spacing to 0. So all looks good. Now what I need to do is just send it. Oh, I forgot to show the Yahoo one. Sorry, yes, the Yahoo one should also look good since it's using the browser's rendering engine. Okay, so now I'll try to send out my other email which has changed all the divs to tables. Okay, so for this part, we still need to make sure that this particular email will look good on all of the client that we have seen before. So I'll go through it one by one again. The first one is my Gmail client. Oops. Okay. Okay, it looks good. Nothing is wrong. Then my mail client on my phone, which is this one. Yes, still looks good. Nothing wrong over here. Then the other one is this one. Oops. Oh, sorry, it's a bit slow. But anyway, this one should also work fine since I've already checked it before. So I will show you the problematic one with previously, which is the Outlook. Now it will look something like this. Yes, it looks fine. Nothing is wrong except the image. Yes, because this is the user's preference. So if the user read your email and they are interested in the image, they can always download the pictures. And yeah, your email look good. That's pretty simple, isn't it? Yes and no, actually. So I'm using a newer version of Outlook. That's why the rendering engine is already WebKit. And with just changing the div to table, your email will look good like this. But with older version of Outlook, it won't look as nice as this yet. It will look, since I don't have an older version of Outlook, what I can do is send out another email that I have modified to show you how it will look like in an older version of Outlook. Okay, which is this file. It's almost the same as demo3 with a little bit of styling differences just to show you how it will look like on older versions. So it will look like something like this. Yes, as you can see, the width of your email is full screen. You cannot have it in the center. Then your table is a bit off to the left and to the right. Yes. Now, what do we need to do if you want to support older versions of Outlook, which is using rendering engine like MS Word or even IE6 Trident? So if anybody have a guess, so if you have been working with IE for long enough, I guess you guys will guess it. So the magic code over here is conditional formatting. So I don't know whether you guys are aware of this or not, but there is this thing called conditional formatting in IE. So other browsers and client will ignore this part of the code, and it will treat this just as your usual command. But in IE, it will actually read the if part and then render this part accordingly to the if. Okay, so for if, you can set for the if part, it actually checks for the version of the browser of your IE. So MSO here is Microsoft Office. So if I'm not wrong, MS09, this refers to Outlook 2000. So this code will only be rendered if the client is not greater than Outlook 2000. Okay. So what I have done in this code is I have added such of this conditional formatting so that this code will be able to be viewed good on older Outlook as well. So the piece of code that I'm talking about is this code. Oops, spaces. Okay, so it's this code over here. As you can see, I wrap more tables if the client is IE or more than Outlook 2000. So what I'm doing is adding this table over here, which has a fixed width. So this is the part that will make the white version of your email just now centralized in the middle with a width of 600. So this part of the code will do so. And this is for the opening text. And of course, over here, you will need the closing tag, yes. So what I've done is I've added this kind of code here and there to make sure that the positioning alignment of the table is correct. And why do we use a conditional formatting instead of just doing something like this? Okay. So the problem is if you do something like this, it might mess up your email in the other clients. So it might mess up the view in the Gmail, which is already working previously. So with this conditional formatting, you don't need to worry about breaking other client that has been working before, since the other client will just ignore this code altogether. Yes, so let's try to send out this last code over here. Oh, sorry. Okay. Response is okay, and I should receive it over, over here. Okay, still looks good in the Gmail client. And then in my phone, not sure why it's, oh, okay. Hey, it looks good. The responsiveness is still there. Then lastly, in the Gmail app, which is here. Okay. Okay, now I need to show you in Outlook as well, since that's where we need to fix it. Yep. Okay, so it looks good now. As I said before, I don't have an older version of Outlook, but you have to just believe me that this will also look good in older versions of Outlook, like Outlook 2000 and stuff like that. Yes. Okay, so this is the final version of my template code, and you all might have realized that for this last folder, I actually have a plain text over here. Now, why do we need a plain text? So as I say, different email client have different rendering behavior. Some of those clients might skip your HTML altogether. So let me show you the previous email. So like this, if you show the original, okay, as you can see for this code over here, it will only have the HTML code. So in client that doesn't support HTML at all, your user either will see this code as just plain text, or might even see nothing at all, since you don't have a fallback. But if you put a fallback, have a plain text as a fallback, at least your user will still be able to see something like this. Okay. So that's another point. This is just the plain text version of the index.html. Yes. So that's all for my demo. Yeah, and I will go on talking about some more stuffs, which is some things that you need to note when you are coding a HTML email. So first thing is some general stuffs. First, I have mentioned this before. Don't neglect the plain text version. Try to always include the plain text version, since we don't know, like, even though like nowadays all the email clients like very good, and like most of the people are using a modern email client, but anyway, try not to neglect the plain text version. Try to include it if possible. Next thing is responsiveness is important. Yes. So if your email does not support responsiveness, imagine that a user he's commuting from home to work and he's in the train, then suddenly your marketing email pops up. What will he do? Of course, he will just open up his phone and open his email client and just see your email, right? But if your email does not support responsiveness, what he will see is like very small text, like a very jumbled layout. Then he needs to like scroll left and right or zoom in and zoom out just to see your content. And definitely he won't be happy with it and it won't be a pleasant experience. So responsiveness is important, and as I have shown before, it only took like 4 or 5 line of codes to make the responsiveness. So try to include this. This is very important. Next one is this. I took this from the video that Gao Wei recommended me to watch, which is the Singapore CSS one. So this is a very interesting idea. Oh yeah, before that, some of you might think like, why do we go all this hassle just to lay out a HTML email, right? So why don't we just put like one big image and be done with it, and like, or just put image, then you don't even need to worry about all this type of layout thing. You don't even need to worry about the older versions of Outlook and so forth. But the problem is, this point over images can be disabled by the user. As you can see in my Outlook previously, images are by default disabled. So when the user open your email, if your email only contain images, then they will see nothing. And if your title is not interesting enough, they won't even try to download the pictures. So this is one reason. Another reason is if the user suddenly remember your email, then they want to like search back your email again, then they cannot actually do it, since images at least for now cannot be searched. As far as I know, currently there's no OCR for email clients yet. So if you want your email to be if you want the user to be able to search your image, please let text be text and images be images where possible. I think this is a very good advice from Murray. Next one, so for the code itself, here are several advices that I can give. First is you can check on this page over here. What are the supported CSS by the email client that you want to target? Some property that you want to note is style in head. Be aware that some email do not support style in head. Although like in most of the client that I showed just now, like the style is working, but to be sure that your email is working on other email, try to inline your CSS. To do this, you can just use an online HTML inliner to let it inline all your CSS. Another properties are margin, padding, and opacity. So these are all very important ones. And lastly, but not the least, is background image. Do note that Outlook does not support a background image. So if you want to put image, try to use the img tag instead. Next one is this. I think this is very obvious, but yeah. So you need to avoid JS. Don't put any JavaScript in your HTML email, since it will make your email marked as a spam. Then another one is if you want to support Outlook, try to use table instead of div and CSS positioning, since the behavior for table for almost all of the clients is the same. So you should try to use tables. And this last point is the point that most people miss actually. Be careful of white space in between your content and the tag. What do I mean by this is, so if I go to my code over here, in some of the places, yes, like this part over here. So you realize there is actually no white space in between the my opening tag, my content, and my closing tag. Why is this the case? It's because like some browsers, if you do your code like this, some email client will actually render the enter, and for sure it will mess up your layout. So what you want to do is have minimum white space in between the content and the tag. Yep. And last part is how to support Outlook. Yes, I have been saying this over and over, but the conditional formatting is your friend. So you need to use this text and add in additional table text so that your layout will still look good on Outlook. For this list, you can actually refer from here. I have, yes. So you can refer to this for the versioning. Like MSO is Microsoft Office, GTE is greater or equal to, GT is greater than, and this is the mapping. So Outlook 2000 is MSO 9, 2002 is MSO 10, and so on and so forth. Yes. So that's all about the HTML email. Talking about HTML email, right? Actually, there's a new interesting thing that Gmail has recently implemented, which is dynamic content for emails. How they do it is they embed the AMP in the email actually. So your email will have an updated content every time the user opens the same email. So this is actually very interesting since like maybe a deal has already ended when you send the email to the user, the deal is started yet. But when the user go back to the deal, maybe it's already ended. So if you use this AMP to show dynamic content, actually your user will see that, oh, you can show the user that the deal has already ended. If you're interested, maybe you can read more onto it. These are some interesting things. And to summarize, here are my summary. So you can check CSS support for the email client you are targeting. Be aware of all the styling that you're using. And yes, the white spaces is important. And your trustworthy friend is the tables and conditional comments. Yay. And I want to show you guys one fun trick. So let's say you want to send out an HTML email, right? But you are just too lazy to set up all the credentials, all the SMTP, and all stuff like that. What you can do is like this. But there's a prerequisite. So you will need your styling to be in line for this trick. And so this is the code, the same code as the demo 2 just now, but with all the styling in line. So what you need to do is you copy this thing, you copy your whole index.html, then you go to your Gmail, then you can try to compose, then type in something, then you can do an inspect, then you can edit as HTML, and just paste your HTML code over here. And voila, you can send out the HTML email now. Let me try to send to myself. Yep, it's there. And it still looks good. Okay, I guess that's all for from me for today. Do you guys have any questions?
Okay, yes, we do. Okay, yes, we do have questions. We have already started curating questions. The first one from Chen Chen, do you think it is possible to implement our item card with HTML email?
We implement what? Sorry.
Is it possible to implement our item card with HTML email?
Oh, yes, of course, right? Yes, I think it's possible.
Wait, hold on. Technical difficulty. Okay, are we? Okay,
Okay,
okay. Let me see. Okay. Next one from us. So can we use iframe?
Can we use iframe? Wow, that's an interesting one. I've never tried it before, actually. Let me just quickly try it. Let's say I have over here. That's an interesting one. Let me just try. Oh, sorry. I should try on this one. Let's see.
Because I guess the putting an item card in an email is that we can do dynamic information from client side in the email thing, right? Because of course, you can generate the dynamic information on your server and then send it over. But then, if we want to do,
But iframe, I don't think it is possible since it might be a security issue, though.
okay.
Yep. It's not there.
rendered.
Yes, it should be ignored.
There was one question.
I remember like some of the client that, not the client, maybe the server will actually remove this thing. Because like Gmail, they actually parse through your HTML and do some like formatting to it as well. As you can see, like my class name is like changed and they put in some ID and stuff like that.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't think it's working.
Okay.
It's a good.
We do have more questions.
Yeah.
How do you feel about AMT email? You mentioned that in more things to come, so wondering how you feel about it.
Actually, I'm pretty excited about it, right? It means that we can do stuff that we cannot do with HTML email right now. But I'm not sure about the implementation in other email client. I heard Outlook is also trying to implement this. So for now, at least Gmail and Outlook is in the ship. So I hope that we can use it as for our Shopee as well.
Oh, okay. I think I see one more question. Do you know any trick to add custom font to emails?
Custom font to emails.
It is possible you can do web fonts. You can link the font in your CSS, right?
It needs to download.
Then the
Yes,
client will download the HTML, download the CSS. We will import the remote web font.
Question is, does it download?
Oh, right. I think something we right. I'm pretty sure that Huijin is sneaking in our channel, so I should direct this question to Huijin. Sometime later on, she will tell me. Right. Okay. So, do we have any other questions?
There is
okay. Okay. Looks. Right. Okay. I guess that will.